Last night, Tucker Carlson released definitive evidence that I believe exonerates the man known as the QAnon Shaman. Video footage showing police escorting him through the Capitol building and trying to open doors for him. If you're going to try and charge someone with doing something wrong, it would help if the police did not assist the individual in what they were doing. Now, if you think the QAnon Shaman deserves prison, as many of the leftists and liberals do because they're freaking out, then fine. Those officers on camera, I believe there's maybe 9 or so or more, should all be arrested and charged as well for aiding and abetting this man. Cops aren't above the law. Y'all want to defund the police, right? Okay. We can either go with arrest the Capitol police officers who aided this man or release him immediately. It would seem that Democrats and their neocon cohorts in the January 6th Select Committee omitted evidence, kept it from the eyes of the public because it was exculpatory. And I got to say, that makes me feel like these people are evil. Now, of course, I've already felt that they are evil. They lie all the time about basically everything. And in order to secure power and expand their power, they pushed this lie relentlessly. Of course, now that Tucker Carlson has released much of this footage, or I should say select portions of the footage, disproving some of their most potent claims, the media is losing their mind. They're saying he's lying. Don't trust Tucker Carlson. It's faux news. It's not Fox News. Yeah, we got a bunch of these people absolutely losing it. But let me show you the evidence and we'll break it down so you don't need to take my word for it. I'd like to play you a clip from Tucker's show last night that I believe is exculpatory evidence. It is absolutely definitive proof that the man knows the QAnon Shaman did nothing wrong. That's my view. Here it is.
Dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison.
This is a man, his name is Jacob Chansley. They call him the QAnon Shaman.
Far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. I
want to go back and re-show that because I'm trying to zoom in,
but according
I want to make sure you can all see as you're watching
surveillance
this.
Video,
the police
it
are
is very
escorting
clear
him
what
through the building
once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him. They acted as his tour guides. Here's video of...
In this clip, the cops are in front of the shaman attempting to open a door for him.
Chansley in the Senate chamber.
Oh, it's locked.
Capitol Police officers take him to multiple...
Look at this. You can even see the officer here. Look back. I wonder what the cop said. Maybe something like, we'll try another way. Because then Chansley follows
multiple
the cop.
Entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down. Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks for them in a prayer on the floor of the Senate. Watch.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving the inspiration needed to these police officers to allow us in this building.
Contrast the reality of what Jacob Chansley did in the Capitol building on January 6th.
So let me just go back and show you what we have here. Chansley is walking through the Capitol building. There are police all around him. In fact, they're with him, walking with him. And I think the most important part of this is you'll get a lot of arguments saying, well, they're following him. Maybe they don't want, they're worried he's violent. These are armed police officers. But fine. Make the argument they're really concerned about this guy who broke into the Capitol. Then explain this. Walking in front of Chansley, the police attempt to open the door for him. And then they don't. And then he follows them right back around. Wait a minute. Hold on. This dangerous man couldn't be stopped. It was too risky. He's surrounded by officers, many wearing helmets. They appear to be armed. Why aren't they stopping him? They let him in. As we know from many of these people, here they bring him to another door after the fact, and he goes inside and he thanks them for letting him in. Absolutely incredible. Tucker Carlson played many other videos, some showing people cleaning up. Because here's the truth about January 6th, the absolute truth. Oh, get ready, liberals. There was a violent riot at the Capitol building. Several insane people smashed windows and climbed through the building, fought with cops, and it was brutal. Some people got trampled to death. Some fell. It was horrifying. Yeah, all of those people who were violent and committing crimes, I look forward to seeing them prosecuted. As for the QAnon shaman, the issue is, on the other side of the building, there was a planned rally, peaceful and permitted, and the police opened the doors. That's right. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants answers about this, and she's right. Who are these officers who were assisting these people into the building? Why were they doing it? So, for someone like Chansley, and many of these other people have been criminally charged, they're walking up to a building where there's no fences. And of course, the Young Turks, they address this saying, if there's this trampled glass and blah, blah, blah. Let me explain something to you guys. You cannot charge someone with trespassing unless you warned them they are trespassing. That's a fact. I know because we've dealt with it. If someone is not, so we have on our property, we have security measures, we have active security measures, I'll put it that. But in the early days, we were informed by the police, if you do not have a sign, actually, I'll just tell you guys, if you don't have a sign, no crime is committed. People are allowed to enter your property. That's right. And you got to tell them to leave. You put up a sign and they enter your property anyway. Congratulations. You've trespassed. Trespassing. Okay, now that they've trespassed, you can call the police and say, I got a trespasser. Create a physical barrier of any kind. Any kind. And now they're committing burglary by entering your property. That is to say, if you have a thin piece of string wrapped around your property and there are signs saying do not pass, and they do, that's burglary, not trespassing. It depends on your state. Now, for the people on January 6th to be criminally charged, the problem is many of these people walked onto public property at a public building where the police fanned them in, opened the door, and gave them guided tours, as we just saw with Chansley. How are you going to claim insurrection, parading, or any of this stuff? Well, Chansley's in jail. Let's read a little bit of this, but I want to show you the actual response. Many of you may have seen the news. Fox News reports, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy granted Tucker Carlson tonight an exclusive first look at over 40,000 hours of security camera footage from the Capitol building that were hidden from the public for over 2 years. On Monday, Carlson offered the first glimpses of footage involving key figures from that day. Now, here's where the media comes in. NBC News, oh boy, they're on it. Tucker Carlson, with video provided by Speaker McCarthy, falsely depicts January 6th riot as a peaceful gathering. You see how they continue the lie. They want you to live in their bubble world. Let me break it down for you again. The truth. Of course there's violent rioting. We all saw the videos. We saw the stories. But that was on one side of the building. For the peaceful protest on the other side, these people had no idea what was going on. Now, what they want to do is conflate two different moments into one story. So when you see the bumbling dotards walking through the Capitol confused, they want you to believe those were the violent people who smashed their way in. Some, but many of them, there's a video where the cops open the doors, letting people in, and a cop actually is heard on camera saying, I don't agree with it, but he says something to the effect of, I don't agree with it, but I respect it. Something about, the right to protest. You do your thing. The police let people in. Now imagine you're at a federally permitted rally, which it was, not the riot, other side of the building. And the cops open the doors and start waving people in. And you're sitting there and you're taking pictures and you're like, oh, wow, look, we're going into the Capitol building. Normally you're allowed to. You just walk in. So how were any of these people supposed to know they were committing a crime when the cops opened the door for them, let them in, and gave some of them guided tours? There's video of the police taking selfies with people. How about that? The media falsely depicts January 6th riot the peaceful gathering as a January 6th riot. They are conflating the two. Tucker Carlson wasn't talking about the riot. They're lying. In his segment, he explicitly says, you can see people committing vandalism. We all know. We've seen the video footage. He doesn't falsely depict the January 6th riot as a peaceful gathering. He makes the same distinction that I'm making, that there were many confused people who had no idea what was happening on the other side of the building. And here we are today. Sahil Kapoor, lying for NBC News, says, Fox News host Tucker Carlson on Monday released security video from the January 6th attack using footage provided to him exclusively. Carlson acquired the tapes as part of a deal for McCarthy to win the speaker's gavel. When McCarthy was struggling to gather the votes in the House, blah, 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 blah. In the 2 months since McCarthy won the gavel, okay, you see how they don't actually get to the point until way later on? He continued. Video that Carlson didn't air shows police and rioters engaged in hours of violent combat. Nearly 1,000 people have been charged in connection with the Capitol attack. Oh, whoa. You see the lie. The people who have been charged in connection is exactly what Tucker Carlson is highlighting. Some of these people were let in by the police. And Chansley, who's sitting in jail right now, is shown being given a guided tour by officers who at any point could have simply taken him by the wrist and said, sir, we are removing you from the premises or you are under arrest. I wonder why they didn't do it. Why didn't they do it? Why is it that many police officers were physically fighting people, but then the nonviolent people were given a guided tour? Answer me that, NBC, Schiff, Cheney, Kinzinger. Why is it that in one portion where the violence is occurring, the cops are fighting, tear gas, battling people? On the other side, they open the door and let people walk on in confused and not having any idea what was going on. It's almost like it was all on purpose. All on purpose. The Hodge twins said Tucker just started dropping J6 footage. It shows Capitol Police escorting the shaman through the Capitol. Our corrupt DOJ threw him in prison for 5 years over this. He should be immediately released. Agreed. Shipwrecked Crew on Twitter. I'm not familiar with, but I saw this tweet, so I decided to retweet it. They say that they're an attorney and a defendant for the January 6 attorney for the January 6 defendants. I got it. He says, my client, Jake Chansley, was a big part of Tucker's first big rollout. There is a story beyond just the fact that the government had video of Jake's attorneys never looked at. Jake is set to be released from custody soon. He's going to tell his story. But Jake has also committed himself to helping him raise money for more J6 defendants. He says, that's about it. I think that's important to note. He's going to be getting out soon, and there he is. We have more here. Clay Travis highlights. Tucker Carlson exposing many of the January 6 lies. Here's footage I think you all need to see.
First, they told the country that Officer Sicknick was murdered with a fire extinguisher.
Officer Brian Sicknick died after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher during the fight.
That story came from the New York Times, which is effectively the assignment editor for most of the rest of American media. It was a lie, untrue in any way. But only after that lie had hardened into conventional wisdom did the newspaper bother to retract it.
The New York Times has quietly retracted its story about the death of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick.
The damage had been done. Brian Sicknick, himself a Trump voter, had been transformed without his consent into a political martyr of the left. His memory was shamelessly exploited by the incoming Biden administration. Sicknick is someone walking in the Capitol. That is a lie. Here is surveillance footage of Sicknick walking in the Capitol after he was supposedly murdered by the mob outside. By all appearances, Sicknick is healthy and vigorous. He's wearing a helmet, so it's hard to imagine he was killed by a head injury. Whatever happened to Brian Sicknick was very obviously not the result of violence he suffered at the entrance to the Capitol. This tape overturns the single most powerful and politically useful lie that Democrats have told us about January 6th.
And you ready for this one? Yeah. Let me see if I have it. Here we go, from Viva Fry. What did Joe Biden say?
But Brian Sicknick should not be reduced to a prop for the political ambitions of the Democratic Party. He was a human being. The facts of his life.
And several police officers in the meantime.
But Brian Sicknick should.
Joe Biden, I think I actually had it in the other clip. I want to make sure I get this one. Joe Biden says that, where is this portion at? Several police. Here we go. We got it.
Here's Joe Biden.
Breaking down the doors, trying to overturn an outcome of election, and killing several police officers in the meantime.
But
These people are evil. You know, if you watch Timcast IRL, and I'll say this, my birthday's on Thursday. If you want to get me something for my birthday, you can become a member at timcast.com to support my work and the work we do here at Timcast and everybody else. And, you know, Ian just doesn't want to call people evil. But this is Joe Biden lying to the American people, saying that Trump supporters killed several police officers. It never happened. Here we go. Joe Walsh, who is also evil because he's lying, he lies all the time, says, what we know, Tucker Carlson is lying about January 6th. His audience will believe his lies. Other right-wing talkers will spread his lies. 40% or so of Americans will doubt the truth of January 6th. The divide in America will harden. There will be more violence. Well, I think he's right about the last few parts, unfortunately. But Joe Walsh is a sophist and a manipulative individual, a liar. I think you watching this, you already know he's lying. The argument from the corporate press and people like Walsh is that the whole thing was a violent riot. But we know that's not true because we have video footage of people being let in the building on the other side. So where's the nuance? If you listen to a show like Tucker Carlson, if you listen to a show like mine, you'll know that there is nuance here. There was violence. There were very bad people. And there are people that we want to see brought to justice. And then there are bumbling dotards and people like Jake Chansley who are confused and walking around saying thank you to the police for letting them in. Should they be charged as insurrectionists and lied about? Well, of course not. Anybody who walked in confused or was welcomed in by the cops, they didn't do anything wrong. The violent rioters did. Now, how come these people won't explain the nuance? How come they won't tell you what really happened on that day? And that's all you need to know. They are unwilling to be honest with you. And the problem is people like Joe Walsh know that his followers will believe his lies without question. They won't watch Tucker Carlson to see the truth. Because the truth is, Tucker Carlson showed the riot footage first. And he said, we've all seen it. We all know it happened. And there were people who were violent, committing vandalism and attacking cops. But there were others. Now, why isn't that others part included in the narrative of these people? Because they are evil. And let me explain what I mean by evil. The other day, I asked Ian on Timcast IRL if he thought that I said the Democrats were evil. And he said, I don't know about that. I wouldn't say that. And I said they had evidence, the January 6th committee, that Jacob Chansley, who has been locked up for years, is innocent. And they withheld that evidence for political power. What else could you define as evil, if not that? And Ian said, I don't know, maybe killing an animal for fun. And I said, okay, what if someone paid you to kill an animal so they could watch with pleasure? Would that be evil? He said, yeah. And I said, okay, what if you tortured the animal because it then gave you political power in some way? Yes, to empower yourself through the suffering of others. Okay. What if you withheld evidence that would exonerate a man so that you could gain political power for yourself, putting this man in solitary, putting other people in what is effectively torture? Isn't that evil? People like Joe Walsh are evil. Now, Walsh may be the banality of evil in that he's just a really dumb guy who doesn't know, but I really doubt it. These are higher level people. You can call them midwits. You can call them, high wits, whatever you want to call them. These are not stupid individuals. They at least have some capabilities about them. I believe Joe Walsh is completely capable of watching Tucker Carlson's segment and seeing the nuance presented. I believe that Joe Walsh completely understands that there's more than one individual who was acquitted by a judge because evidence shows they were let in the building. One man said, I didn't do anything wrong. The cops let me in. They played a video for a judge where the cops are waving people in. And the judge said, you're right. The police opened the door and waved you on in. You broke no laws. You committed no crime. Have a nice day, sir. One guy got several of those charges dismissed, but not all of his charges. Because the judge was like, okay, well, hold on there a minute. You are right. They let you in, but you did do some other stuff. We have seen the nuance in the news, and we know. But if you follow Joe Walsh, he is attempting to lie to you for political gain. I think this stuff is evil. Viva Fry says, and that lie is still up on the New York Times website. Behind a paywall now, of course, but don't worry, they are responsible. Credible journalists posted an update. Let me pull up the archive that Viva Fry has posted, and then you can see. This is from, the date is April 2021. He dreamed of being a police officer, then was killed by a pro-Trump mob. The death of Brian Sicknick, a military veteran and experienced Capitol officer, amplified the tragedy, blah, blah, blah. He was not. The headline's fake. Completely fake. Update. New information has emerged regarding the death of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick that questions the initial cause of death. Strange. How could it be? And so that appears to be the latest. Let me see if I can pull up today's version of it. Yeah, there it is. As of today, the New York Times still has the false headline. And of course, they have this update note, but they still run the story. People will still see it. They'll still believe it. And people like Joe Walsh will spread these lies because they are evil, because it's a cult, because they believe they are better than you. That's really it. I believe in decentralization of power. I believe there needs to be a weak nucleus that has some kind of central authority, but weak. And then there needs to be a decentralization of the distributions of power and the wielding of such power. These people believe in the centralization of that power because you're stupid. That's why they that's why they sterilize kids. It's why they abort babies. Too many of you. Now, don't get me wrong, man. Seeing all of these TikTok young people with their goofy hair, morbid obesity, sterilization surgeries, I can understand why they feel that way. But it's a product of their own creation. They are making people like this. And for what purpose? I don't know. I do think there are too many people. I personally do. I think the issue is with too many people. Let me clarify all of this. Too many people in the sense that we have too many people who don't do anything and are encouraged to do nothing. I don't believe there's an upper limit to the amount of people that should exist. I believe there should be hundreds of billions of people, just not on this planet. Now, how do we colonize other planets and how do we expand human civilization and have more people? I think more people is a good thing, so long as we're expanding and colonizing the stars. How do we do it? Strong culture, strong traditional morals. I'm not saying like Gilead type nonsense. I'm saying we work together, we advance technology, we believe in hard work and meritocracy. And then we start traveling those stars. These people seem to believe the best path forward is a culling and to have a natural selection type process. And so they intentionally craft people into developmentally stunted people who are incapable of critical thought. They lie to you to manipulate you for power so they can get what they want. And the people like Joe Walsh, they want money. They want food. They want gluttony. It is a corruption of humanity. Well, there's certainly more to come, I'd imagine, in terms of these videos. So we will wait and see. But for the time being, I think any sane and rational person would agree. With video showing the shaman being escorted through the building, through lines of police, with the police opening doors for him, he did nothing wrong. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.